yes, Sony racing to victory. It's going to be so awesome. This year is going to be amazing. They have a big event. They're going to tell us all the specs, and Microsoft, all these Xbox are going to learn their lesson. And I was told it has the best computer chips and a fat pipe and the best load times. It's going to be so amazing. All these people on the forum saying it's going to be the most powerful. Oh, this is Sony forever.
All right, calm down. Gee, what do you got? So when it comes down to it, there's some information out there about Sony having an SSD drive that is 50% faster than that of the Series X. And unlike 99% of most other things we hear about PS5, this is based on actual information, or is it? Well, I don't know about you, but when I listen to somebody talk about an SSD who doesn't even know what an SSD is or how it works, let alone a memory controller, it's extremely obvious, and it makes me want to cover it even more. So, let's get into it. What is going on, guys? Dealer here, back again with yet another video talking about the Series X and PS5, because there seems to be quite a racket out there about this SSD. You know, the flash memory that's going to hold their games and even act as some kind of flexible RAM. Well, hey, we'll get to the flexible memory and the fact that it's already in use today on PS4 Pro. It's really all about what they plan to do with flexible RAM that makes it special. But first, we're going to focus on where this 50% faster came from. How do they already know the PS5 is 50% faster, which, by the way, could very well be true, but let's at least be open-minded here. Let's be objective here. Let's look at the facts. Super facts. Now, where did all this come from? Did Sony come out and confirm that they are going to have the fastest load times? No, not officially. Did they say anything about having the most power? No, Microsoft are the ones saying they think they had the most power. What's going on here? Where's all this coming from? Well, quite simply this. The Xbox Series X budget PCI Express 4.0 SSD could be half the speed of the PS5. Now, this article's a doozy because not only has Sony not confirmed the bandwidth of PS5's SSD, but the comment this is all based off of comes from that of Mike Ybarra. Technically, it should come from this channel because I was the first on YouTube talking about this because I had heard about it around E3. The fact that the next generation Xbox and PS5 would leverage some kind of raw throughput or some kind of feature PC does not currently leverage really to its fullest. The only thing I could come up with was load times. Yes, it comes back to that. And really, the comment that it's quoting is that of Xbox's, or formerly Xbox's, Mike Ybarra, who said this during my podcast. I actually covered this. I'll link that video down below. The article says, but despite reports that the PS5 is going to have an SSD with raw bandwidth higher than that of any SSD available on PC, it looks like the prototype Xbox Series X will have very much last-gen SSD speeds. Now, for one, it would be current-gen SSD speeds because the speeds that you provide are still as quick as my PC. And secondly, that wasn't even Mike's exact quote. All of this stems from these guys sharing Mike's quote on all of these different trash forums, when in reality, Mike said that it would basically see I/O speeds that we may not have even seen on PC today. This wasn't some kind of report, okay? I hate this word report. Look at this report. You mean this rumor you picked up? Yes. Look, if you want to know exactly what Mike said, you can go check out that video link down in the description. Otherwise, let's move forward. Look, long story short, through some information that was revealed, there is apparently some kind of SSD in the next Xbox that is currently in that prototype box that I showed in my last video. And man, what timing for that box to actually leak like that, because we had the senior director of Xbox hardware on my podcast at the time while that was going down, and I actually got kind of his live take on it during the show. That's my last video. I'll link that down below. Now, according to some information that has come out, apparently the controller on the SSD that is in that prototype box that leaked early, which as the article itself states is most likely not final hardware, is a controller of that can only handle about 3,700 megabytes per second. It says the Phison E19T is a budget SSD controller that has been designed specifically to connect over the PCI 4.0 interface. Now, they're saying that this controller is based on one that is of the 3.0 nature, and because of that, it will not be as quick as a 4.0 SSD. As you guys know, I've been preaching about PCI Express 4.0 bandwidth for months and months and months and months. We had speculated on how this would actually be achievable on console, these ridiculous load times that we've been hearing about. Something I want to point out after this paragraph is the fact that Microsoft have already confirmed a fully custom SSD, or at least their integration integration of this SSD is fully custom. This integration is not talked about or even mentioned, taken into account in any way in this article, which is, by the way, pretty much all speculation. There is zero data, there are no benchmarks, there is no developer saying this, at least not at the time of this recording. But wait, it gets worse. The site behind this article, as well as those talking about this whole 50% speed, Microsoft are gonna have really long load times and blah blah blah, don't even have what it takes to go back and watch their actual Project Scarlett trailer, where there's a lot of this.
What I'm personally most excited about is the SSD.
We've created a new generation of SSDs. We're actually using the SSD as virtual RAM.
We're seeing more than 40 times performance increases over the current generation.
The combination of the SoC and the solid-state drive are really what gives you a totally new experience.
How do we make it easier for people to get into the game, to stay in the game?
One of the things that gamers and developers are incredibly excited about is reducing load times.
That's our goal with gaming, is that you don't have those pauses.
When you can move through worlds without waiting for screens to load, that speed, that performance is what the next generation is about.
With the faster load times, you're going to be able to experience all the games within just a snap of your fingers.
Hey, I get it. Those running with the Sony 50% faster thing, you know, it very well could be, depending on what type of system they go with. But the real question is, who has that implementation that provides the most benefits around the board? It's going to be a very interesting arms race. But as you saw, they mentioned this about 5 million times in their own trailer. Load times are important. 40x the I/O speed of previous generation. As mentioned before, Phison itself details the controller at around 3,700 megabytes per second, which is about 3.5 or so gigs. The current hard drive inside of the Xbox One X is 60 megabytes per second. I need you to think about that. 3,700 megabytes per second versus 60 megabytes per second. Even if what they're saying is true, I'm not complaining, honestly. Now, the worst thing that this article is telling you right now is, look, you know, this Xbox is gonna be trash. It's only about as quick as a really pretty good PC. It's only as quick as a pretty good SSD on PC today. Even if it's 15 seconds on Series X over something that might have taken a minute and a half on Xbox One X, I wouldn't care. I would be disappointed because it wasn't as fast as I was actually told, but at the end of the day, it would be extremely fast, and that's just one load time. Imagine all the micro burst loading and all that stuff, significantly improved. Now, here is what they are basing the 50% claim on. Now, this is the most important part because you got a bunch of frauds that are running around talking about this. They are saying that because Samsung showed off the super quick PCI 4 SSDs, Sony are definitely going to have that, and they're going to have Samsung tech, which has pretty much been confirmed by Samsung itself, which very well may be true, right? They may be rocking all this high-end stuff. They're saying that because Samsung showed off some SSD tech that comes out to be around 50% faster than the numbers we just spewed off to you, that means that the next PS5 is going to have 50% better load times than that of the Series X. That is what this comes down to. And no, I'm not joking. Sony have confirmed nothing. Developer has confirmed nothing. Again, not at the time of this recording. And I'm not saying that it's not possible. It's just the fact that people are running so hard with it, even though it's based off of the fact that Samsung showed off some next generation SSD stuff, and the controller in a prototype Xbox happened to be one that is derivative of a 3.0 controller, even though it is classified as 4.0, which raises questions in itself. Look, I'm not claiming to know everything, but I do know that I know more than most of the people that are running with this. And what I'll say is, hey, wait and see. The reason I'm not wait and see on GPU power is because I know Microsoft have the edge in GPU power. I was pretty much told that by somebody very high up in Microsoft. They know what Sony have. Sony know what Microsoft have. This is why Sony are so quiet with their numbers. And little do a lot of these insiders on places like Reset Era know, they are quoting GCN numbers half the time and don't even know it. So when it comes down to it, ultimately we will have to see, but this article is pure speculation. Here, let me pull up a different one. Ooh, I like this one. Microsoft Xbox Series X will use group-controlled PCIe 4.0 SSD. This is almost certainly the PCI Express 4.0 version, according to reports. New master PCI Express 4.0 SSD will reach a speed of 7 gigabytes per second, or about about twice as quick as the one that the other article mentioned. Again, I do not know exactly who will be faster. I mentioned before that I would completely understand if Sony were a tiny bit quicker on the load times. You were talking about the difference between something like 5 and 10 seconds maybe. If they go with some kind of ReRAM system, that's kind of like an Optane setup. Hey, you could have even more benefits when it comes to going and coming in the same areas. You might even have quicker loads there. But when it comes down to it, Microsoft are looking to have some kind of special integration of parts in their box. I'm sure Sony do too. They are looking to use virtual memory in a heavy way. I'm sure Sony are going to look into virtual memory as well. In fact, as I mentioned before, PS4 Pro uses about half a gig right now. But really what you should take from this is, hey, I found a completely opposite article without even trying, based on the same information from a different perspective. And unfortunately, a lot of the turds running with this don't even understand the technology and are running with it because it suits their exact narrative. Of course, all links down below in the description. Let me know your thoughts on this. I do appreciate you guys checking this out. I have another video out on Thursday. Be sure and check the podcast out. And again, hey, PS5 could have a loading time advantage. But when it comes down to it, you're getting a much more powerful product with the Xbox Series X. And on top of that, you're probably getting some other really cool features as well that we don't know about yet. But hey, let me know what you are most excited about when it comes to the next generation consoles, which one you think will be more powerful and have better load times. As always, shout out to the patrons, the channel members. You guys power everything that happens here, including RDX Podcast. Thank you so much for what you do. It means a lot. Hit that like button, show this to a buddy or two. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm Dealer. I'm out.